good. How are you doing? What are you doing these days?
I'm in Jersey. I'm in Bridgewater. I'm a teacher. I'm a fifth grade teacher. It's kind of led me to this conversation and thinking back to, what's really been effective and what I've been teaching. And so that
Yeah,
started this conversation. Then I
yeah.
wanted to touch base with those that I've noticed from a distance who have a unique trajectory. So I wanted to touch base, get your thoughts on if there was anything you wish you could have learned while you were in school and kind of how you ended up where you ended up.
I'm a filmmaker now. I'm a film producer now.
Mhm.
And so, in high school or middle school in Jersey, there was obviously not really much of a curriculum around the arts
Mhm.
specifically for film.
Mhm.
Um, so, growing up, I didn't really had no idea that film was a career option. So
Mhm.
certainly just anything on the subject would have been interesting to have learned. And knowing that there is a career in this space would have just been interesting to know, even if we weren't specifically learning about the subject.
And is that something that you knew even at that time that you would have had an interest in, or because you didn't have the exposure, you
Because I
wouldn't?
didn't have the exposure, I didn't really even consider it a career path or a career choice. I knew
Okay.
I loved movies and I knew I loved watching them and being a part of them, but not professionally.
So if there is somebody watching this that does have that interest or knows that they love movies, what would you advise them?
I mean, now with the internet, I think the information is out there. So certainly, if someone's interested in film and learning about what it takes to be a filmmaker, I think there's lots of amazing podcasts and videos on YouTube, and Masterclass has some really great speakers from the entertainment world talking about filmmaking. Um, but I would just say to anyone who wants to know if film's an option, um, to know that there is a career to be made from a wide degree of choices that you can do in terms of your education. So we have people who work in film that are carpenters that build the
Mm,
sets.
mm,
We have people that work in film that are writers, obviously,
mm,
that are directors. But then there's people like me who are more on the business side of film. Um, there are obviously people who in accounting and in finance that are part of film. So people think to be a filmmaker, you have to be creative, but that's not necessarily always the case. Um, the thing is, you just have to see that just like any other business, like medicine or finance, that entertainment has a wide plethora of options of what you can do within that specific sector. So, like I said, there's people who work in costume or fashion
mhm.
that are part of filmmakers. There are people who design trains and design
The sets.
various things to sets. So, there's people now that I've been in film. I see that they have degrees in all kinds of things, from engineering to
Mm.
construction to finance to business, that are all part of this industry. Which even when I first started, I didn't really realize that.
So, as somebody who is South Asian and taken a route that is not your stereotypical South Asian route, do you feel like you are seeing more representation as you continue your path in this career, or do you
Oh,
feel,
definitely.
yeah?
Yeah, I mean, the more I'm in this business, the more I start to see people who look like us in this business.
Mhm.
There's a lot more writers and directors. There's starting to become a lot more producers in the space. There's certainly a lot of executives that work for the big companies in the space, but
Mhm.
they, I think, took a more traditional route, working for a corporation and
Right.
then working within the business. But on the independent scale, there's starting to be more people too. And I think more South Asian parents are allowing their kids to make more diverse choices, which is now in turn having people, South Asians in film school. So then they're actually getting to be part of the full creative force behind it, like directors and writers as well.
I imagine a lot of that is linked to a fear of lack of stability in the, which is at least the impression that we're given. Do you feel like
Yeah.
that's true?
I think it depends on whether you are doing it for yourself as a freelancer or as an independent producer or an independent filmmaker, or if you're joining a corporation. So I know a lot of people who work for companies like Fox and Universal and Netflix. I mean, working for any of those is just like working for JP Morgan or Thomson Reuters or a startup. Um, but if you're obviously if you're pursuing acting,
Mhm.
which is what most people assume when you say you're in the film business. They just
Yeah.
assume you're becoming an actor, and that path, of course, has a lot of instability
Yeah.
and uncertainty. Um, but unless you're specifically trying to be an actor, all the other modes of working your way into the business have, just as much stability as almost any other industry.
So would you say that breaking into the industry is essentially the same as any other field, other than maybe the
I
acting?
think, I mean, yeah, in a way, it's about the same. You have to have either some experience or a door in,
Mm,
or
some
you have
luck.
had to, and luck, of course, and then you had to have some education in it.
Okay.
Um, but I know people who studied accounting and then now are producers, or I know people who didn't take a directing path and decided to write their own stories and now are famous or up and coming directors and writers. So, the thing with film is there's no real like sort of one way in. I didn't study film. I didn't go to film school. I didn't work in film until I did. Um,
Mm,
and so, I think it's sort of varied, and there's a lot more paths in than
mm,
probably some other industries. Like in medicine, you have to have gone to med school,
right.
whereas in film, you don't have to go to film school.
Fair. You just have to have a camera.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
exactly.
could you tell us a little bit about your journey and some of the projects you've worked on, and of looking back, what you've learned from that experience?
I got my path about 10 years ago. I got up and quit my full time job at Thomson Reuters, and I decided I wanted to be a filmmaker. So, what I did was just work on film sets that I could
Mm,
find online. And there's a lot of online sites that advertise jobs for film. So, I started working as a production assistant, which is
mm,
just, assisting on the set for
mm,
any of the various departments. Um, Eventually I was an assistant director, I was a production manager, and then eventually I decided I wanted to be a producer. I found my first script online again, because I didn't really have connections in the business.
mm,
um, and so I found my first script online. Decided that I was going to learn everything I can about how to make a
mm,
film through making a film, which
mm,
honestly is the best way to learn how to make a film. Because I know people who have gone to film school for producing and they come out not knowing how to produce, because you
mm.
learn a lot of
Hands-on.
theory, and you learn a lot about creative aspects of the film. But luckily, I went to business school, which really helped me make
Mm,
a film, because
mm,
you need to know that you need to start a company and you need to
right.
have rights of the thing, and so all of those sort of business language things, and raising financing for a movie requires a lot of business and savvy knowledge and finance savvy knowledge.
Mm,
So I honestly tell people now who want to be producers, like, go to business school instead of going to film
mm,
school. Film school is great for all the other departments in film, but for producing it's really a business, because film is a business. It's a
yeah,
multi-billion-dollar business.
yeah.
um, and so I've now done 10 feature films. I did a TV show that was on Netflix called Brown Nation.
Mhm,
My most recent film was a film called Remember Me that we shot in Spain and France and US. It was an international co production, and we sold it to Universal. And it was called Remember Me. And now I'm doing 7 more feature films in the next 2 years, 2 TV shows, and a couple of other
so you're just
smaller
a little
things.
busy, just a little.
Just a little busy, yeah, yeah,
You
yeah,
also
yeah.
did, Money, right? You also
I
did
also did
Money.
a film called Money. Yeah, yeah,
Yes,
yeah.
yes, I remember.
That was also on Netflix. Um,
So what have you learned from all of this in your
I've
project?
learned how to make bigger and better movies.
And what does that entail?
Having access to good material, being
Mm,
able to put together a great team,
mm,
and being able to put together all of the pieces needed to make a movie. So that starts with the script.
mhm,
You have to have a director. Then
mhm,
you have to have money to make a movie, because unlike some other arts, say for example, maybe in music, you of course need, sometimes you just need yourself
and
to
instruments,
put
yeah,
together a song. Yeah.
yep,
Of course it's more complicated than that. You need a mixer, and you need you need some more things. But for example, like being a painter, you need canvas and paint.
right,
Whereas to make a film, you need sometimes millions of dollars and hundreds of people.
mm,
And even a small film, like a short film that I'm doing in January for a friend of mine, we need $50,000 and 40 people.
right,
So film is one of these like truly collaborative pieces of film, of arts, where it really does take a lot of people to see a vision come true. Um, and so, just putting all those pieces together, you always get better and better at it.
yeah,
And learning the financial models behind film, and how to put the money together, how to put the various pieces of the financing together, and then how to eventually see it out there in the marketplace and sell it. And
So I teach right now. I teach reading and writing. I'm a language arts teacher.
uh-huh.
So where do you see that playing a role in your field?
Well, every good movie starts with good writing.
Mm,
And so good writing is the first piece of making a good movie. You can take a great script and turn it into a bad movie,
mm.
but you can't take a bad script and turn it into a good movie.
And do you feel like looking back as a student, whether elementary school, high school, even a college student, that there were particular things that you learned or maybe did not learn that you're seeing now in your career?
Um, I mean, I'm with being a film producer, people skills are very important. So
Mm,
that is certainly something I learned not necessarily through school, but through just growing up and being part of schooling and
yeah.
being around people. Um, so they say sometimes to be a writer or a director, you don't necessarily need people skills; you just need the creative bone. But I think in this business, because like I said, it's so collaborative and you're always working with other people,
Yeah.
people skills are just as important as any other skill that you have
Yeah.
that you're doing your job with.
A lot of times we'll hear as far as the public education system that students don't always see the interdisciplinary side of the subjects. When you go to math class, you just think of math. When you're going to language arts, you only think of language arts. When you go to science, they just think of science. So
Yeah.
would you support the idea or would you agree that in fact it should all be interdisciplinary because that
Yeah,
is
I mean, I think it should. For to be in any part of the film business, you need to know math because you're always dealing with budgets. You're always
mm,
dealing with numbers. You always
mm,
have a even if you are a carpenter on set, you get a certain amount of money, which means you
mhm.
have a certain amount of resources, and you need to be able to allocate those resources properly. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say understanding that everything sort of works as one, even if your interest lies in a specific field, is extremely important.
Okay. Is there anything you would tell your younger self now?
Um, I probably would have, if I knew that this existed, maybe not spent 5 or 6 years in the corporate world
Okay.
before deciding to jump in. Having said that, I think a lot of my corporate experience did help me eventually become a better producer.
Mm.
Um, but maybe I just would have done a little bit less of it.
What made you finally jump ship or not jump ship, but, like,
I think I was
switch
just
your
tired. I think I was just tired of what I was doing, and I knew that I was good at it, but I didn't want to continue doing it for the rest of my life.
was there any
Um,
fear involved with that? Because I think with especially young students, there's always a lot of fear. They're very much rule followers for now,
yeah,
and there's fear involved.
yeah. I mean, certainly, I think any change in direction of what you're from what you're currently doing is
Mhm.
scary.
Yeah.
But I think it's almost like embracing the fear that's going to
Mm.
get you through it. Knowing that it's okay to be scared and
Yeah.
knowing that it's okay to worry.
Yeah.
But then if if you are truly passionate about something, that if you follow that passion, that there is a world out there now, especially that passion leads to a good career and a stability and money
Excellent.
and overall happiness.
Yeah. So do you
Yeah.
feel like you can now say as a producer, filmmaker, that you kind of have the hang of it?
Yes, I would say after 10 years, I definitely have the hang of it.
That's all I really wanted to ask you. I really appreciate your time, unless there's
Of
anything
course.
you wanna share.
No, no, that's it for me. Thank you
Yeah,
for
of course.
allowing
I
me
look
to speak.
forward to hearing about your next projects and definitely keep
Yes,
us posted on that.
I will. I will for sure. And good luck with the kids. And if you ever need me to ask me anything again or need me to talk to them, I'm happy to.
Oh, I will definitely take you up on that probably. Thank
Okay, awesome.
you so
Well,
much.
nice catching up. Take
Yeah,
care. Bye bye.
bye.